What is up, people? Welcome back, boys and girls, to another video. Welcome to something that I haven't done on the channel before, and that is a tier list. And as you can see here, it's quite an interesting one. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, probably from the title and the thumbnail and all that sort of stuff, I'm going to be rating all of the DLC cars, or the update cars, I guess, that we've had in the game from the car pass. All the cars that were added into the game post the game's release. And I'm talking about Forza Horizon 5. So, this tier list was made by another fellow creator called Kenpai. Leave a link to his Twitter down below. You guys can check that out. And obviously go follow his Twitch and YouTube and all that sort of stuff if you're into his videos. But, I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen someone do this. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a video on this. And I'm also going to change some of the ratings here. So, it's not just S to F or whatever it was. So, start off at the bottom. Big Fat Stinky. It's the bottom tier pretty much. Next one is what's the point? Like, literally, what was the point of adding that car in the game? There's literally no point of it. Literally drove it once. It's which is just average. Like, I've driven it. I could possibly drive it again. Interesting edition, which means I've driven it. It was actually quite interesting to drive. You know, had maybe quite a nice noise or handled quite well. It's nice. That's a good one. It's kind of self-explanatory. And I've got a boner. Right, anyway, so let's get started with the Toyota GR Supra. This is the FD Supra, the Formula Drift Supra. And what do I think of this car? Well, unfortunately for everybody, I literally drove this car once. I'm pretty sure I took this car out once to drive it, and that was pretty much it. It's a completely whatever car to me. I don't drive the Formula Drift cars, so a lot of them that are in the game, actually... Yeah, that's a good idea. So a lot of them that have been added with that pack, I've driven literally once when I made the video, except for a couple of cars, which I will obviously go ahead and change. The Renault 8, or the Renault, however you want to pronounce it, whatever, 8 Gordini. This was really fun when it was first added in. I'm going to put this into Interesting Edition because it's rear-engine, it's rear-wheel drive. It actually drives really, really nicely. Even lower class, it just, if you keep it there, it's actually sick to drive. It's really, really fun. It's also kind of unique. It's just weird that it's all in Mexico, and obviously we have some French cars there. It's just not something that will fit that. However, I think it's an interesting addition into the game, and it's a cool little car. I'll keep it there. The Mercury Cyclone spoiler. Have I even driven this thing? I don't think I've even driven this thing. If I have made a video on it, then I forgot about it. That's how uninteresting that car is to me. It goes with the Big Fat Stinky. It just does. I see a reason why they would add it into the game, so that's why I didn't put it into what's the point. But it's just a stinky car because I've never driven it. It has given me zero interest in actually even trying to drive it, pretty much. You know? So... that's called the Big Fat Stinky because I just don't care for it at all. The Ferrari J50 from 2017. This is what? This is like a weird pre-SF90 type of car. Is this like a concept or something? It's okay. I'll put it in its because I've driven it. It's kind of fun to drive. It's okay. You know, it's not like something crazy. I don't know if I'll probably go drive it again, but it's extremely average addition into the game. Usually a lot of these super hypercars or whatever that they constantly keep adding into the game, it's just not that fun. It's just not that fun, right? I kind of want some more interesting cars being added to the game instead of just driving super and hypercars all the time because it just doesn't interest me at all. Okay? And that's where we come to the next car, which is the Ferrari Monza SP2. Now this is a super rare car. Obviously, I actually ended up seeing one of these in person when I was in Monaco recently, which is very interesting. It's a interesting addition, I think, in the game, just because of how rare and how interesting the car actually looks. Obviously, it's not just your regular, you know, here's the bonnet, roof, wing, and whatever it is type of Ferrari. It's a super rare car, and I think it's an interesting addition into the game. However, I don't want to put it higher because I just feel like it doesn't belong up there. Okay, that's it. I just don't think it belongs up there. Next up, we have the Lamborghini Espada. This, I'm pretty sure we've had in previous games. So I don't consider this, like, I'm just going to put this in what's the point. Because what's the point of adding that car to the game? I guarantee you there's not going to be many people that will go and play with that car and be like, oh yeah, this is a good addition to the game. Because it just isn't. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the Lamborghini Espada. They really don't. So that's staying down there. Next up, the Lamborghini Huracan Evo. So basically, this is just the same as the normal Huracan, except it's the upgraded one, or whatever, the facelifted one, however you want to call it. It's just a newer Lamborghini Huracan Evo. I literally drove it once. That's literally it. I literally drove it once. It was probably really fun to drive. I think I drifted it as well in that video or that episode, and that was pretty much it. It's whatever. I don't really care for it that much, to be honest with you. So it's staying down there. Now, the next car, which I think when I did drive it initially at the very, very, very beginning, I actually have driven this a few times, but at the very, very beginning, I absolutely adored this car. It drove amazingly, and that is the Jaguar XJ13, and I've got a boner. Okay, I definitely have a rock on right now. Such a sick car to drive. Really, really fun. Very, very interesting. I'm surprised that this car hasn't been in the game since the very beginning, because the XJ13 is just such a cool car. It's basically an E-Type race car, and it's super, super fun to drive. It handles great in game. It looks beautiful. It just is a really, really nice car. It also sounds really well. So I'm going to keep the XJ13 at the very top. I love it in Gran Turismo. I love it in this game. It's a really, really good addition. Really, really good. Next up, another Jaguar, actually, and that is the XJ220S TWR. Now this is, I think, a really, really good handling car. I'm going to put this in nice because I think it deserves to be up there. First of all, it sounds good. XJ220 always looks good, so it's a really, really nice car. And third of all, I think it's really, really good in the game, like handling wise. I think they've done a really, really good job with the handling physics of this thing. I honestly think that this probably is better than the next car that's on the list, which is the FXXK Evo. I think the XJ220 is faster and better than the XJ2 or than the FXXK Evo. I think overall, once you finish modifying it and tuning it, I'm gonna put this into its though. The FXXK Evo, I'm gonna put it in because it's just there. Again, I love Ferraris, right? I adore Ferrari. Ferraris make some beautiful cars. They sound great and all that sort of stuff, but these cars, man, these super hyper cars and all this sort of stuff, it's just we had them in the game, right? We've had them in the game for so long. These are just extra ones that you added to the game. Do you know what I mean? It's average. It's just an average addition to the game. That's pretty much it. The Audi TTRS, I'm just gonna put it into Big Fat Stinky, and you know why I'm gonna put it there? As good as it is, right? I love the way the car drove and all that sort of stuff. It's a nice car to drive. But I'm gonna put it in Big Fat Stinky. First of all, because they messed up when they released it, where the rear bumper was messed up when you changed the body kit or whatever on it, and the car was pretty much a boring addition into the game, because that should have been in the game from the very beginning. The car's a 2018 car, right? This should have been in the game from the very beginning, not added in many months later into a game that came out in 2021, right? That car should have been in the game from the very beginning, and that's why I'm putting it in Big Fat Stinky, because they've missed the point of it, and it just does. I don't think it deserves to be a DLC car or whatever, a car pass car. BMW M2. It actually drove really well. It was nice when I was driving it, but this, I think, is one of them that I'm gonna have to put in literally drove it once, because I literally did drive that once. It's just it's okay, right? It wasn't anything crazy. I liked it, but it wasn't like, it doesn't deserve to be higher. I really just don't think it deserves to be higher. It's a very balanced list though, if you look at it. The next one, I've got a boner. I love that car. I absolutely love that car. I do really like the Sport Classic design on 911s. I'm not biased. I don't have a 911 or anything like that, but I do like 911s, and I think that the Sport Classic is such a good blend of old school 911s and new school 911s. Basically, we have the looks and everything like that, but obviously it has the old wheels. The interior is like more old school and everything like that. It just is such a beautiful car, and I love it. And in the game, it sounds great. It drives fantastic. Keep it at its rear wheel drive. Don't even like give it way too much power either. Like keep it at like a mid-range amount of power, and it is lovely to drive. It's really, really nice. It's a really, really good cruising car. Really, really good cruising car in my opinion. Next up, I think it's a very, very, very good car that was added to the game. Stuff like this is what we need in more of these Forza games. More regular-ish cars. Even though I'm pretty sure that this is a very rare car nowadays, but this was obviously a more regular car back in the day, which is a Mazda 323 GTR, and I'm going to put it in nice because it's such a cool little car, and these are the type of cars that I wish that they would add more into the game, instead of the super and hyper cars and all that sort of stuff. More regular cars, please. It just is a cool car. It's fun to drive when I got it. It was interesting to figure out the way it works, and it has the all-wheel drive system. Obviously, you can make it drift and all that sort of stuff, and it's just a cool shape. It's a nice car. It was a nice car, and I think it's a very good addition to the game. Next up, on the completely opposite end of the scale, the 2021 Golf R, which I'm putting in big fat stinky, because again, like, this is a car that should have been added into the game from the very beginning. Like, I feel like they've just copied over the previous Golf R stats and everything, and then just like slapped it onto this one with a new body, and that was pretty much it. This should have completely replaced the Golf R Mark 7. Like, this is just a 7.5. Like, they could have literally just added the Golf 8, but they decided to add the Mark 7.5 instead as the DLC. Like, just put it in the game as standard. Like, when you're making the game, put it in there and leave it there, and that was it. But no, as a DLC car, I think it's a big fat stinky. I don't think it deserves to be a car pass car at all. I really just don't. Next up, obviously this was all part of the whole MG thing, and that is the MG X-Power SVR. I'm going to put this in an interesting edition. Now, the reason why I'm only putting it there and not higher, I love the way this drove, by the way. I absolutely love the way this drove. I think it's a very, very good A-class car whenever I ended up building it, and I drove it quite a bit, so I definitely drove it more than once, and I definitely don't think it's average. I think it's very interesting. It just felt like, because they had to release a whole MG pack or whatever, a Chinese car pack, they had to release this. I wish that this was in the game from the very beginning. I wish that this was a car that was already in the game. Like, this is from way back in 2005, where, like, these were interesting cars back then, in my opinion. I was never a big fan of MG, but when they showed this, I'm pretty sure they showed this off in Top Gear as well, and that was such a sick car. So I agree that it's an interesting addition into the game, but I don't think I'd bring it higher. Again, like I said, it's a very good driving car, but yeah, maybe I am a little biased in saying that I'm not a big fan of MG, so that's probably why I'm bringing it down a notch. But it's there. I think it's definitely an interesting addition. I'm not going to be changing these up and down on how interesting it is or how average it is. It doesn't make sense. So these are all just going to stay like this. So just count all of these as equals, pretty much, basically. Mustang SVO Fox body. What's the point? Like, literally, what's the point? Do we not have a Fox body already in the game? I'm not entirely sure, but like, it's just such a forgettable car. It's just, what is the point? I like the Fox body. I think the Fox body Mustang is quite cool, but I just don't see the point of that car being added into the game. I really don't. It just literally does not interest me at all. Now, this is where we get a little bit more interesting, because we have two of them that you can probably see on your screen right now. This next car and then the car that's at the very end of the thing. Why would you add, right, the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro 2019 edition, and then you go and add the Toyota Tundra TRD, oh sorry, one is a Tacoma and one is a Tundra. You see how easy it is for me to confuse both of these cars? Because I know they're not the same car, but because I looked at them and I saw one's 2019 and one's 2020, it's just such a forgettable thing for them to add into the game. Like, how am I, like, I'm literally just gonna do, what is the point on both of these? Because what is the point? Just add one of them. Just literally add one of them into the game. I know one of them is a different size to the other one, right? That makes sense. One is different size to the other one, and one would probably have a little bit more power than the other one. But what is the point? What's the point of adding both of these in the game? I don't see it. I don't see it. And I don't mind, you know, pickup trucks. I don't mind SUVs or anything like that being added into the game. Add them. Right, perfectly fine. But this just being added into the game like this, I just don't see it. I just cannot see it. I don't see the point of them at all. Have one in the game from the game's release. it doesn't deserve to be a DLC car in my opinion. It just doesn't. Anyway, next up, we have the Noble M400. I absolutely loved this car when I was younger and I knew about it. It was so funny to me because the version of this car that had the Ford Mondeo taillights was hilarious to me. Obviously, I think it was the version just before this. This is, I'm pretty sure, the facelifted or upgraded version, whatever. The slightly later one. But I remember the one before this had had Ford Mondeo taillights, which was really interesting to me. But it's a cool car. I think it's an interesting addition into the game. It actually drove quite well too, so I'm going to keep it there. Okay, this is where my logic will start to try and reason with this car. Again, I like Ferrari. I think Ferraris are good and all that, but what is the point of adding a race car in the game? What's the point of adding a race car in the game that you're going to be driving on the road? Like, completely pointless. Give us road cars. Let us add the kits to them, right? Let us create them and make them look like race cars. Perfectly fine. I don't care about having race cars in the game. Like, just full on, straight up race cars. Which this is. You know? Like, I don't care for it. Just don't put it in the game. It's an open world racing game. You're racing on streets, on roads. It's not a track racing game. I just don't think that belongs in there. If we had tracks in the game, then maybe. Next up, we have an Oldsmobile Tornado. Okay? This was actually quite fun to drive. And I'm going to put this thing in an interesting edition. Because this is a front-engine, front-wheel drive car from 1966, which is a weird thing, right? An American car, because usually those were all either rear-wheel drive, big old V8s, just anything like that. It's when you think of early days, sorry, not early days, but when you think of pre-1970s cars, I definitely wouldn't consider this to be one of them that would pop into my head. So I think it was an interesting addition because it got me more interested in this type of car. And I think this was fun. This was actually quite fun to drive and to mess around with and do all sorts of builds and stuff on it. And because it was front wheel drive, I think it just made it a lot more interesting to have a look at and mess around with. Okay. We're slowly going down. We're slowly coming down. McLaren 620R. Again, I drove it once. I literally drove that car once. I have zero interest in that car at all. I literally drove it when it came out, I'm pretty sure, and that was pretty much it. I haven't really done anything else with that car. It's just there. It's literally just there. Next up, we have a Toyota Corolla. This was fun once I drove it, but again, like I said before, the Formula Drift cars are literally just going to go and literally drove them once because they're just whatever. They just are, to me. You know, I just don't care for it. John Cooper Works Mini. Okay? John Cooper Works Mini. Don't care. I just don't care. I really, really don't care. I think there's different versions of the Mini in the game at the moment. I just don't care for this one being in a DLC. I just do not see it. I just don't see it. Just put it in the game. Replace the old one, right? Maybe you have the model of this new one. Replace the old one. That's there. There's no point. They are so similar to one another. I don't think it deserves to be its own car to be there. I just don't think it does. I think this should be already in the game. I don't think it should be as a DLC or a car pass car at all. But that's my opinion. Next up, we got a 911 Speedster. Now, this is basically just a convertible version of the 911 GT3. It was a very fun car to drive. And I'm going to put it in, it's nice. Because when I drove this for the first time, it sounded amazing, first of all. It looks good too. It's very fast. It handles well. I think it's a really, really cool car. And I definitely do think it deserves to be up there. As a DLC car, I think it's a good addition into the game. F-150 SVT Lightning. Now, this is something that I feel should have been in the game from the very beginning. However, it's going all the way into I've Got a Boner because it's such a cool car. It is such a cool car. Definitely going to put that at the top of the list. I love the SVT Lightning. It's just such a cool thing. And that they've added into the game, I'm happy about that because it was brilliant. Brilliant to drive from the very beginning. I knew as soon as they added it into the game, I was like, I'm going to love this car. And I did. And it's still good nowadays. And every now and then I will take it out and just drive it regularly. just before I'm making videos or something like that. It's really, really nice to drive. So that goes up there. I like that a lot. The Nissan Safari Z or Safari Z. This is actually a good car to drive. However, there's other 350s in the game. Or 370s, whatever. I think it's a 350. I think there's the Forza Edition version. That's also an off-road version of a 350, I'm pretty sure. So I just use that instead. So what's the point of this thing? It goes and what's the point? Because I literally just don't see the point of it. I really just don't see the point of it. I don't think it should be in the game because I have zero interest in it at all. It's completely pointless. It just is. Anyway, we move on to the Dodge Magnum. I'm going to put this in Interesting Edition. I always loved the Dodge Magnum. There's not enough wagons or estates in the game, in my opinion. I think they should add a lot more. This one coming into the game, super fun car to drive. I love the way it looks. It's just a big chunky American, technically muscle car, but it's a wagon or an estate. And I definitely do think that it deserves to be up there. Very, very cool. Very, very, like really, really cool car. I'm not going to bring it up higher because I don't think it deserves to be next to these guys, but it's definitely an interesting addition, and I do like it. Next one up, the BMW M8 Competition. In real life, I love this car. In game, I think it's a very good looking car still. It's fast. It's that's it. That's where it ends. I'm gonna put this in. It's just, again, I feel like it should have been in the game from the very beginning. Like the M8 came out, however many, like a couple of years ago now. Again, it just should have been in the game. It shouldn't. You shouldn't have to wait for so long for something like this to be added into the game. I feel like that should have been in the game, and that is where I go with the next couple cars as well. RS3 should have already been in the game. They added the 2021. We're now in 2022. The new one has already come out as well. They could have added a brand new RS3, but they didn't. They decided to add the old one. Completely car, whatever. And same with the Audi RS5. Literally the same thing. They decided to add it into the game way too late. It's a very average car. There's nothing crazy about it. It deserves to go there. It literally just deserves to go there. Like, it's uninteresting. It's not a very interesting cars. And I like these cars in real life. I think they're cool cars. But like in the game, for the purpose of them having a DLC car, I don't think these deserve to be there at all. I really don't. The 1982, Volkswagen Pickup LX. I actually missed out on this car. I wasn't around to actually collect this car. So I missed out on it. And I never ended up getting it. I'm probably going to try and see if I can somehow get this thing. I don't think I'll be able to. But if I can, then that's cool. I'm going to put this in Big Fat Stinky just because I never actually got to experience it. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what mods you can do to it. I don't think it's very, very interesting because I don't see many people driving these about the place. So I don't think it's good for anything. So I'm going to put this there. I think that's something that belongs there in Big Fat Stinky because of various reasons. Oh wow, here's another one. Put that in, literally drove it once. Aston Martin DBX. Okay. Not a fan. I think it's an interesting addition. Okay. Which would probably put it here, but it's not up there. It's not up there. SUV, cool. I still feel like that should have been a car that was in the game from the very beginning. I don't know if it's DLC worthy. So I'll put it in its Right? Some people may like it, some people don't like it, and all that sort of stuff. I'm not a big fan of the DBX. I just don't think it looks that great. But I'll put it in its It's super, super average, which is why this tier list or whatever, this slot here exists. This is just super, super average. Next up, the RCF, sorry, not RFC, the RCF Track Edition. This was good. Like, really, really good to drive. Really, really good to drive. It looks great. It sounds great. I think this deserves to be in It's Nice. I definitely do think it deserves to be up there. It's a really, really cool car to drive. The only reason why I'm not bringing it up higher is because we already have the RCF. Like, we've had the RCF. Adding the same car, but having, like, a slightly special version of it just feels a little weird to me. But the RCF Track Edition, because of how good it actually is, I'm going to put it in It's Nice. But not I've Got a Boner. Alright. Next up, the Nissan Nismo 370Z Big Fat Stinky. What is the point of having this car in the game? I'm going to put in Big Fat Stinky just because it's worse than what's the point of having that car in the game. It's the same thing. That car has been out. That generation of Nissan 370s has been out for so long. Nothing's changed on them. Here's some weird body cut in it and enjoy it. That's it. Like, it's just pointless. I don't care for it at all. I really, really don't. It's just pointless. It's a pointless addition to the game. It really is. Add the 400Z. Add the new one, whatever it's called. The Fair Lady. Just add that in. What's the point of having this in? We already have this in the game. Anyway, moving on to the Mazda RX-8. The only Formula Drift car that I still use to this day because of its sound and its looks. And it goes at the very, very top in I've Got a Boner. What a sick car. What an absolutely sick car. A 3-rotor RX-8 sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. It sounds so good. They've done a very good job with the sound. And it beats every other car in the game, in my opinion. It's unbelievably good sounding. And it definitely deserves to be up there. It drives well too. You can do drift scores, or you can do drift scores. You can do drift runs and get really big scores with it as well. So it handles well. It looks the part. It looks great. It sounds amazing. It deserves to be up there. I really do think it deserves to be up there. Next up, we got a Super. Now, this is another Formula Drift car that I'm not going to put in literally Drove It Once because I've drove it multiple times. This is also a car that a lot of people use to do, to have done back in the day, some of their drift runs with, and it's a super good car for all of that. For rear-wheel drive drifting or all-wheel drive drifting, I think it's a good car, and I'm gonna put this into its nice because it is very nice to drive. It really is. And now we got the last three, which again, the only reason why I like this is because I can drift it, and it's just a stupid thing to have added into the game. But I can drift it, and I'm gonna put it in its just a slot higher than literally Drove It Once, because I definitely drove it multiple times, just because I can slide it, right? And it's just not a car built to do that, but just because I can slide it, I'm gonna bring it up higher because it's a little bit more interesting than just literally Drove It Once. Then we have this. Looks cool, but I literally drove it once, and then like I just, there's nothing else I want to go back to it to. Pretty much, it just doesn't interest me. I love the 240Z or 280Z, whatever. They're very cool cars, but you can't really do much in the game to that, and you can't really do much to the other Nissans in the game, regardless. Anyway, there's not many things that you can do. I wish we could have like a 240Z in the game that you can do a lot of stuff to yourself, or the 280Z, whatever. But you just can't. And this one as well is just something you can't really do or change much on that car. And you're pretty much stuck with the way that is. Anyway, last but not least, the STI. The 2019 Super STI S209. This was an interesting car to drive. But, again, it's just a very uninteresting car overall. It's good to drive, but a super uninteresting car overall. And I'm pretty sure I literally just drove it once. I'm pretty sure that was pretty much it. I just drove it once. And that is the end of this tier list. So this was a good tier list, in my opinion. I think it's a very well thought out and very well balanced tier list, right? Obviously I'm going to say that because it's mine. But I'm just saying, right? Let's see if I can change anything around here. I'm just going to have a look around if I need to move anything about, but I don't think so. I think I've done this right, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that I kind of want to change on this thing. Maybe bring the Aston Martin down one. I'm gonna bring it down one. I think it deserves to be down one. I don't think it's super average. This is only here because I've definitely driven it more than once, technically. I don't know. I don't think there is anything else that I kind of want to change on this thing. I really don't. Yeah, I don't know what else I'm going to be able to add or move on this list. Even the Mustang SVO, I think I've driven this thing in that video like once. I don't know. I don't think there is anything else that I really want to maybe move some of them down to Big Fat Stinky, to be honest. But like other than that, I think it's fine. Well, let me know which ones you would move around, which ones you want to move up or down and let me know down in the comments below. But this was it. This was the tier list, and I wanted to do this on the channel and see what or share, I guess, my opinion on this. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like it, comment, share, subscribe, do whatever it is you guys want to do. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.